2018 Street Glide. Going to be doing some performance work. 465 fueling cam chest kit. The new fueling breathers, S&S tappet cuffs, EBC springs, and his handlebars are moving around. I guess he had a brother-in-law or something install these bars, and that's not working. Also, they're moving around. So we're going to be putting in the Yaffe clamp. And new front tire. I'm not going to show you that stuff. We're more or less just interested in the engine in this video. So we're going to show you the disassembly. I'll go over some of the finer points during the assembly. And then hopefully, let's see, today is Friday. I'm hoping I can get this done end of the day Monday, even if I have to come in and work a little bit on Sunday. I obviously work 6 days, so I'm here Saturday. Because Tuesday I'm off to the Ozarks inspecting a motorcycle, so I'm going to be a little busy for a few days next week, and then I'll be back in the shop. So let's get going on the disassembly and watch along. Make sure you like and subscribe, please. It takes time to do this content, and I really appreciate your comments. So let's get to it. You might notice that I'm having to use a little bit of heat on these Allen screws here that hold the tappet covers in. And I have had questions before, hey, why don't you use a lot of air tools or electric tools to move faster? Yeah, you can do that. But in this situation, there's a good possibility I would have snapped one of these bolts, because what's happening is the Loctite is galling in the threads and it's causing the bolt to jam up. So what I have to do is hit it with some heat, get it to the right temperature so I can break it loose, and then continue on by hand to get the screw out. If you don't do that, you very well could snap the screw, and that is a nightmare scenario trying to get a screw out of a case. It's just not easy. Something I don't want to have to do today. So this is why a lot of times you'll see me removing bolts by hand, even inserting them, installing them by hand, for the simple reason I can feel for galling. Very common also on stainless and chrome threaded bolts that have been chrome plated. A lot of times they will gall and can cause a real issue for you. So it's just something to look out for. You can see how much easier that's coming out now that I've hit that with some heat. And we'll see how this one goes. Oh yeah, much easier. These factory screws actually have a white lock patch on them, and it works through friction when they're installed, and it will cure in the threads and, you know, lock the screw or the bolt in place. But they can be difficult to remove at times. So yeah, it takes a little bit longer, but it's going to save me a nightmare scenario in the long run. Also, I find that I always have to hit the tappet cuff screw with some heat, because they just don't want to come out easily either. You can see this one. It's really galling. It's hanging up. So the odds, you know, it's 50-50 whether that screw is going to break. So we're going to have to hit that one with some heat also. All right, all the screws are out. We'll give this a little tap, break it loose. And one front tappet cover removed. All right, we're going to pull the cam plate with the oil pump in position. I leave that in there so I don't loosen it from the cam plate. No need to, so we're not reusing this. And there's what the stock setup looks like. Your stock pump, cam support plate. We're going to be updating to the fueling system, obviously, in 465 cams. I'm also going to update the breathers from the stock plastic ones, and we're going to go with the new fueling billet ones, which I'll show you when we do the install. Also, let's talk a little bit about these external breathers that everybody's getting into. All right, that's better. So I want to talk about the external breathers. The premise is that the engines are getting so big and they're creating so much pressure inside the engine from the bigger pistons and more stroke that you need a larger breather system. So you see all these breather systems that are being introduced from different companies, including fueling. Some guys just in their garage like me just says, oh, we're going to come up with a breather system, let's put it out. I should do a video on the different breather bolts over the years, since we started with head breathers back in somewhere around 1993. I think that was about the right time for head breathers instead of crankcase breathing. Anyway, do you need them? I don't really see evidence of it. These guys that are coming out with all these breather systems, they didn't design this engine. The Harley engineers did, and I think they know what they're doing. You know, they have 131s and 134 cubic inch now. The breather size hasn't changed. So don't you think the engineers that designed this engine would know that they would need a different breather system by now if it was an issue? Just like they had, M8 came out in 17, multiple oil pump problems. This was revised 4 times. There were actually 3 revisions and then a complete change of the pump. By 20 and later, they had the oil pump issue solved. Basically, it just wasn't scavenging enough oil was the problem. There was a little bit of cavitation. That's why they put an O-ring on the back of the pump to help seal it. But they tried that first, and that wasn't the issue. So the engineers at Harley are pretty smart. I think the right way, and I'm going to try to set up a video on this. It's just time consuming and I'm so busy in the shop, but I'd like to take a few of the different manufacturers that make these breather systems, these crankcase breathers, these venting systems, put them on the dyno, run the bike without it, run the bike with it. And I would like to have the different engine sizes to do it also. And hey, if you're relieving pressure in the engine, then you're going to increase horsepower. I don't care if it's just 1 or 2 horsepower. I haven't seen it yet because I think you're being filled with a bunch of smoke and mirrors. It's like a magic trick. I mean, guys will do anything to sell a part and make money, and the consumer will buy it, not knowing. Not your fault. I don't want to say it's totally hocus pocus at this point, but if you had an internal pressure problem, you'd be blowing gaskets, head gaskets, you'd have seals leaking, main seals would be leaking from the excess pressure, and we're not seeing that. So maybe on a big 145, 160 cubic inch, I get it on drag bikes, those guys vent those things every which way. It's a different animal. At least up to 131, 134, I don't see the need. So one day I would like to be able to actually go and test that on the dyno, but I'm not seeing blown seals, I'm not seeing blown head gaskets. Really don't see much blow by in the air cleaner anymore through the breather system either, because the new breathers are pretty good. I like the fueling ones, the billet, because the plastic sometimes can tend to break down over time, but that was more in the twin cam stuff. M8s, I really haven't seen that. So anyway, just a little bit of a rant and something I might do later. So we're going to continue with this. I'm going to get everything cleaned up. I still don't have my parts here yet from fueling. Now I'm being told it's looking like Monday. Fortunately, I have to leave for the Ozarks on Tuesday, but then I'll be back in a few days and back to work. So we're going to get everything cleaned up. I also have to put a front tire on it. Paul Yaffe clamp, because the bars are moving on him. So we're going to take care of that. I'll see you soon, and we'll see you in part 2 of this fueling 465 cam install and pump kit. I'll talk to you later.